Sarah from The Upcoming.
Nice to
So
meet you.
lovely to meet you.
And you.
So for people who don't know anything about Fighting with My Family, how do you summarise what this is all about?
Well, this is a story about a family like any other. They laugh, they cry, they fight, except when they fight, they do it in a wrestling ring. Because they are a real family from Norwich, England, the Knight family, who are all wrestlers. Mum, Dad, all the kids. And the dream from a young age was to get the kids into WWE in America, the major leagues of wrestling. But only the daughter Paige got signed. She had to go off to America at the age of 18, 4,000 miles from home, and try and live this family dream for her family and for herself. But if you don't like wrestling, if you have no interest in wrestling, then you're like me when I began this project. I didn't know anything about it, but the story was so much more than that. It was about family, it was about ambition and dreams and being alone and staying true to who you are. It had a lot of really great themes, and it was a real wonderful, true life sort of Rocky-style underdog story.
And what a phenomenal cast you got, not least Florence Pugh right at the centre playing Paige, but also Jack Lown and Nick Frost. So how did you come up with this cast and how did you work with them, Rock and Vince Vaughn as well?
Well, I wish I could take credit for Florence and Jack, but they were discoveries that my casting director Shaheen made. I mean, I say discoveries. It's a bit like when Americans say when we discovered America. It was already there. I just wasn't aware of it. She brought in Florence, and it was a very tough role to cast because the real Paige is enormously charismatic, has been wrestling from a young age, and I needed someone who could kind of emulate all of that and had the acting chops to carry a movie. But Florence came in. She worked on the wrestling. She worked on the accent. She worked on the character, and she just won me over. And I think she's just a phenomenal talent. And I wish I could buy shares in her now. If she starts selling shares, snap some up.
And I mean, you did have to, I guess, put together these scenes, and some of it must have had to feel quite real. What were some of the challenges of that? And did you have some real highlights on set as well?
Well, the challenges are always, particularly when you've got anything like stunt work, which is what the wrestling is, it's very hard to do. You want to make it look as authentic as possible. We didn't have a lot of time to shoot. You don't want the actors to injure themselves. And so that was very, very stressful. I mean, we had a giant scene that we filmed at the Staples Center Arena in Los Angeles, 20,000 real-life wrestling fans. And Florence had to walk out there, having only done a handful of weeks of wrestling training, and impress these real fans, just like the real Paige had done. And it was just an absolutely magical moment. I was petrified. I was a bag of nerves. She was ice cool, and just rocked it. And she said to me at one point, she was down on the mat, she looked out, she saw a young 8-year-old boy screaming, "You suck!" And she thought, yeah, this is wrestling.
You've done some incredible films, so many funny things. People amongst my friendship group still quote The Office constantly. Yep. What have been some of the highlights for you, and what's for you next?
Well, I never had a kind of career plan as such. I just have gone where the winds have taken me, really. Certainly The Office was exciting, and kind of that being our first project and kind of coming out of nowhere as these underdogs, if you like Paige, was great. I had this terrific time playing a giant albino mutant in the film Logan. It was typecasting. And I'm just about to play a serial killer. So, I've done it all, really. Emotion, even in The Office, we tried to have, this love story, and we tried to make you cry at times, even if we were trying to make you laugh, and in other stuff I've done. So I've always been connected with stories that are emotional, that sort of take you on an emotional journey, And if you're laughing at the beginning, I'd love the idea that you're crying, or in this case, cheering by the end. And so that sort of, that's what appealed to me about this. It's about real people, it's about a family. With this really kind of wonderful sort of underdog story at the core of it. I went to hang out with them. I spent time with them, got the measure of sort of what made them tick. They're very honest and open, kind of they wear their heart on their sleeve, and so they were very useful and helpful because I didn't understand anything about this world before I started. I went and spoke to Paige herself, and I would just get on the phone with her for hours, kind of asking her, interviewing her really about all these aspects of her life. And so, I wanted it to be authentic, but I also wanted to make a film that wasn't just for people who like wrestling. It should be for people who don't particularly have any interest in it, as I did when I started. Well, I've worked with The Rock before. We're all buddies. I knew him back in the day before he was in shape. And I just always hit it off with him. We had a good rapport, and it was no different now. He's a much bigger star than he was when I first worked with him, but he's just as attentive and gets involved and is kind of, and is really focused and just he's an amazing collaborator. He's a real I wish I could say that he was a monster in real life, but unfortunately he's not. Well, given that this film began life as a documentary that was seen and sent to me by the biggest movie star in the world, I'm sort of hoping another major film star will send me a documentary. I'm just waiting by the postbox every day, hoping that will happen. It's all because I really connected with the story and the people. It's a true story, and it's the first time I've done a true story. And, you know, it was on the surface about wrestling and a wrestling family. I didn't have any interest in wrestling, and when I sat down to watch the documentary that he made about this family, I thought, oh, who cares? But I just fell in love with them, and I love the fact that, you know, they love each other dearly. They have this passion, which is this thing called wrestling, and the dream was to get one of their kids in the WWE. This young woman has to leave home at the age of 18, travel 4,000 miles from home, and try and make this dream come true for herself and her family. And it was just a very touching, affecting sort of underdog story, a lot of humor, a lot of heart, and I just fell in love with them and the story. I think there's sequels, there's prequels. I mean, her parents meeting for the first time, you know, he'd been in and out of prison, she'd been, you know, had a tough life, they found wrestling, they found love. I mean, there's a whole kind of rom-com to be made. I think it's one of those families where the stories could keep going. We could just see, like, you know, like it could be like the Fast and Furious franchise. It could just go on and on and on, you know, as their lives carry on unfolding. I'm surprised you need to ask that. I met The Rock on a film in 2010 that we made together called Tooth Fairy. Yeah, you're welcome. And we stayed in touch over the years. A lot of people assume we're gym buddies because of our physiques, but I barely work out at all. But yeah, so, you know, when he saw the documentary about this family, he's the one who sent it to me and said, "Oi, Merchman, this may be one for you." I don't think he said those exact words, but you get the idea.